Iwami is the next campaign ship, a tier 8 battleship with an interesting twist. Some very long range and powerful torpedoes. The guns are big enough, 16 inches or so, and have a relatively quick reload. All in all, a unique battleship at tier 8. Our game in the background is on Greece, and it's a quickie if you hadn't noticed. In 11 games played last night, I don't think I had a full-length match. Most ended around the 7.5 minute mark. I'll throw the 11 game stats up on the screen now that we can do that, and it was a whole lot of meh, as you can see. Why? Well, I suck at the game, but you guys already knew that. As for the other reasons, I'll touch on it a little bit later. At the moment, we are heading for the flank, and we're just going to try to deal as much damage to the Yamato or broadside ships on my way out. As for the ship build, so far I'm setting my Iwami up for accuracy, propulsion, concealment, and main battery reload. Takagi is my go-to guy for now with a hybrid accuracy build, mostly accuracy. The inspirations I played around with a few different options but stuck with Cunningham and D. Revell. Kondo could be a good runner-up I think as well to buff the concealment a little more I suppose. Full secondary build, I guess that could be called into question on this ship since the base secondary range is a little bit longer than most and the ship has torpedoes and a turtleback armor scheme, but I would say this build is largely useless. At least I found it to be so. The secondary battery, they don't penetrate a lot of armor, but I guess they could set some fires. I don't know. You can test it out on your own, but the main guns really seem to be the better option. So let's look at some of the ship stats so you can compare her to some of the other tier 8 battleships. In terms of survivability, the 80,000 HP is pretty nice. This is a healthy ship coming in 5th place as the BBs go. The heals are pretty average. The armor, it has its ups and downs, I would say. The good is a 50mm deck. That's great. It helps thwart HE spam, and there's a turtleback armor scheme. The bad, it's that the citadel to me looks reminiscent of Musashi or Yamato with a large above the water citadel that juts kind of forward and a very long 32mm nose. I wonder if this ship could be susceptible to cheek shots from close range battleships, just like Musashi and Yamato. If I had training rooms, I would have tested that out for you guys, but of the 11 games I played, I was mostly running from Shimikazes and IJN torpedo boats due to the new Path of the Samurai missions. There were an unspeakable amount of Shimikazes, Hayates, Yugamos, and mountains of Yamatos and Musashis. That plus update day, and I literally could not think of a worse combination to play a tier 8 battleship. So, apologies. That was the extent of the testing I could stomach yesterday. I'm sure you all understand. But be wary of that long nose in the above the water citadel. Moving on to the guns. They are 410mm, which is big enough, I suppose. You have 8 of them, and they actually have a pretty saucy reload, 25 seconds base, and with my build, I think I got it around 22 seconds. The accuracy feels like most IJN battleships to me, so I would guess 1.8-ish sigma in IJN dispersion, but I did not get that confirmation information, so don't quote me on it. Like other IJN BBs, you're going to get those salvos that make you say, WTF mate, and other pretty good salvos. In the 11 games, I did not feel like the guns were super consistent, but again, to be fair, I was mostly shooting at destroyers and bow-end Yamatos and Musashis. Not a lot of cruisers to shoot at, generally 1 per team. In case of bow tanking BBs though, the HE seems to be a pretty good option. Big alpha numbers and a 30% fire chance. I shot a lot of HE in the games last night, more than I generally do. What is very nice about this ship though is the gun firing angles. They're absolutely incredible. It's quite easy to angle well against enemy armor-piercing shells and still consistently get all of your guns on target and able to fire. It's quite a breath of fresh air as opposed to the Palmer. Torpedoes. Yeah, we don't cover this very often on battleships, but you have them and they're quite good. They smack pretty hard, about 21,000 damage apiece. They reach 15 kilometers and they're fast AF, boy, 67 knots. However, the downside, 2,200 meters of detection range. That means they're going to have a 12-second reaction time, which sucks. Basically, enemies are going to have ample warning to be able to dodge your torpedoes. It doesn't hurt to throw them down for zoning, and also it's quite nice to have them in your back pocket if you were ever to get into a brawling situation with any other BBs. As with this much alpha damage, you're going to deal a ton of damage to any battleship that gets close enough. The AA DPS 391 looks to be above average, but the speed of 28 knots is kind of slow up here at tier 8, near the bottom of the pack. And while I usually skip gyrating drill bits for my commanders, this was yet another reason to skip it, because you just don't want a tier 8 battleship that only does 25 knots. It just doesn't cut it up at higher tiers, in my opinion. She has a good turning circle, so I did appreciate that. Makes it a little easier to get around the map, I felt like. Rudder shift and the concealment were just average. Worth noting, the ship does not have a catapult fighter or spotting planes, only the enhanced secondary targeting consumable. Overall, I have to say I did not enjoy my Iwami experience yesterday. Part of it is likely due to the team compositions of Update Day, with multiple games with 4 or 5 destroyers per team, and guess what? That's not very fun when you're in a battleship. 70% of the games I played had one cruiser or no cruiser to counter DD play. Luckily, I figured this would be the case, so the first 10 games I had a division to carry me while I played a battleship. I played one solo to test a secondary build, so the win rate stayed pretty good due to the division, but really this feels like a very average battleship to me. Not bad by any means, but very meh. Again, the games were kind of screwed due to the wonderful challenges with the Path to the Samurai thing. I'll test it out on stream for you guys down the road, maybe when some of this crap clears up and the game becomes fun again. The armor feels okay on Iwami with the 50mm deck and 37% torp reduction. That's decent. Musashi's and Yamato's definitely battered this thing around really badly. They had no trouble accessing the citadel, even if you were angling well. The torpedoes seem like they should be the calling card of this ship, as it is really the biggest gimmick. It's basically Shimakaze torpedoes. But in my 11 games, I only got 2 to 3 torp hits. That was about a 5% torpedo accuracy. They're a good option to have if things go down in a knife fight or a BB pushes you. It's nice to have them. But mostly you're just going to be throwing them down to zone areas out. They were largely useless in most of my games. Again, the guns felt nice. I really enjoyed the firing angles. It was a breath of fresh air from Palmer and the Marlborough, who you nearly have to sail straight broadside to fire all of the guns. Overall, I wish I had more information to give you guys, but a night full of shooting DDs and Bao and Yamato's didn't help out a lot. I would 100% not buy this thing outright. No way it's worth that. Not in a million years, but of course with Admiralty backing, this is a good deal, especially with the goodies that you get along with it. I'm going to give the ship 3 out of 5 stars. As tier 8 BBs go, it's okay. I have a new metric that I would throw out, and that is how likely I am to bring a ship out of port again. As for tier 8 battleships right now, I would choose to play the Ruprecht, Republic, Marlborough, or Musashi, and the Maine over Iwami. But the ship is interesting enough with the torpedoes and the fast reload that I would choose Iwami over Zumo, Savetsky, FDG, Pommern, Marco, Alsace, or Temeraire. So maybe that's a useless metric, but in my mind, as I approach 400 ships, it comes down to time. I only have so much time to play the ships. What ship am I going to take out of port, have a fun time, do well in, have a unique experience? And Iwami is just right in the middle of the pack on that metric for me. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to leave a like, as that greatly helps the channel. Sub for future videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.